Um, is it just us, the Savo, or what?
I'm gonna message them because they shouldn't be. Everyone should
Okay,
be
all right, no
Yeah.
problems.
I'll be leaving again for work a little bit early again.
Yeah, 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 no problems, no
Um,
problems.
that's all right.
Yeah, that's all good, man. What? Okay, how's your week been going, mate? Anything going on with clients? Got any questions or issues, or you writing any programs or anything?
Um, well, I've had two clients this week.
Nice.
Um, they've been decent.
Yeah.
Questions?
So, what have you? Who are the two clients? What are their like their?
The
Um,
goals?
yeah,
Yeah, so they're both weight loss.
yeah,
Usually, like they're both around like 10 kg. Their
yeah,
goal is
yeah,
to lose.
yeah.
Um, but like what I've set them up on already, they're already starting to lose weight, which is good. I'm just monitoring until like where they stop,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when I'll start dropping their calories and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. That sounds good. What did you
Yeah.
do for their programs?
Programs, I just stuck to the templates. I only just changed up the tempos a bit.
Yep.
Just like the basic neurological templates, like 4 days, and then they're two of them like they're the same programs
Right. So two workouts, but done at
four
what
times.
different rep schemes, or
Yeah,
that, oh, just done four times. Yeah, that
yeah,
makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Very good, very good. All right, man. Well, that sounds good. That's exciting. Are they good people to train?
yeah. They're alright. They're like general pop, so
Yeah, but you like
they're
them,
decent.
like nice people.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
They're
good.
good. They're
Yeah,
good.
that's the most important thing. Soph, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm well, thank you very much.
That's good.
How's your week been? You got any questions or anything going on?
No, pretty chill week, pretty quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, not that busy. A lot of them cancelled this week,
Oh yeah.
cancellation, so bit annoying, but it happens.
That happens. That happens. Happens every week. At some stage, someone will cancel. I never
Yeah,
stress too much about it. Just enjoy the free time.
pretty much.
I I did have a question with one of my clients.
Yes.
So her aim is to lose weight,
Mm-hmm.
but with her job and life, she's very stressed and she stress eats.
Right.
And she's messaged me this week saying like, "Hey, I'm self-sabotaging myself."
Mm-hmm.
But the options that I give her of ways that we can work around it, she doesn't seem open to. So I was
Mm-hmm.
just wondering if you have any tools that you would use for clients that self-sabotage themselves.
Sure. So, what were the options that you gave her?
Well, I said we're stuck in a cycle
Yeah.
because you're stressed.
Yeah.
You cope with your stress by eating, then you
Yeah.
feel shit, then you reset and do that again. And I
Right.
said there's two ways. Either we can address the stress and find ways to reduce your stress, but she
Mm-hmm.
didn't seem open to working less or not being with a family.
Yep. Yep. Fair enough.
And I was like, okay, option two is going to be instead of reaching for food, we need to replace that with something else.
Yes, that's not a bad option.
And
Yep.
then I spoke about, I was like, have you tried meditating? And I spoke about a few apps that I've used, and she was like, no, I don't like that.
Yep.
And it's like she can't exercise because she's in an office when she's stressed.
Right.
So
And
I had this suggestion today where it was like, okay, cool, we're going to make a Spotify playlist that you're going to play when you're
yes,
stressed of like motivational stuff. But I just know it's not going to work
it's
because
not
it
going
was
to work.
my idea.
Yeah. Right. Right. So
Okay.
you've got to somehow get her to think like she's created the idea for herself.
Yeah, but she's very closed-minded.
Right. And when she has these, when she eats, are they binge eating sessions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's not meant to be having gluten. It
Mm-hmm.
reacts really badly with her gut.
Mm-hmm.
So she will just eat like a packet of donuts. And then for the next 2 weeks, we're trying to fix the digestion.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so is she? And how regularly is she binging?
I would say every second week.
Every second
It'll be
week.
one good week. And then
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I'm progressing. Let's take that away.
Okay, okay, all right. It's hard. Okay, so usually what I do with people who binge eat, and I've had a number of clients go through this, is I will get them, and it was actually not my idea. This came from a podcast guest that we interviewed who's a specialist on binge eating.
Mm-hmm.
And she does not, I think it might be cognitive behavioral therapy, but one of the tools that she uses is when the client feels the urge to binge, you start to identify what emotional states lead to the binging session so that you know when they're going to happen. And then you, as you feel like the binge might start, rather than starting, you journal about how you feel and identify what's going on, which this doesn't sound like this woman would like to do it. And then you have to sit it out. So the idea is that you have to just go through the hard process of actually sitting out the desire for the binge to occur. And it'll be very challenging at first because your physiology has been trained to feel a certain amount of emotional stress and then have the release of that stress through dopamine from sugar or carbohydrates or sugars, carbs and fats, donuts, like nice things, and then you get a physiological response to eating that food. So they actually have to sit and try and sit through the urge, and deep breathing or meditation or these things you're suggesting make the process easier. But the idea is that you sit through it and you start to build the pattern of breaking the cycle. And it might take several times to actually do that, but every time you do it, you get a little bit stronger and a little bit better at actually breaking the cycle. And so you build a habit of actually getting used to not just emotionally or psychologically breaking the pattern, but that the desire to binge will pass if you sit it out and rest it out long enough. The actual urge to eat the food will, as the stress levels come down, the physiology changes, and you don't have the desire. You realize that you didn't need to actually eat that food, and you journal about it and you keep a diary of it. And each time you break it, you get better at the cycle, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So is there a way where I could send her that podcast so then she
Yes.
can tell me that she's gonna take that idea on board?
Could be worth doing. Like the guest is a female. She's quite pleasant to listen to, and it wasn't all.
It's on the Under the Bar podcast, hey?
Yeah. Her name is Sonna Lehman. She's Menno Henselman's wife. Sonna Lehman, and Sonna is spelt Sanne. So I'm sure, if you Googled Sonna Lehman Under the Bar, it would probably come up the top.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I'll listen to it, then I'll send it to her.
Yeah, and see how you go. But yeah, I mean, if she understands, but obviously she understands that the process will work if she doesn't, because she does it for not, she can resist it for a week and then she starts making progress. So it seems like the actual plan and everything you've got set up is good if it were to be followed. So try it and see how you go.
Yeah, no, I think that's better than my idea, because my idea works for me. I don't think it would work for her.
It's not a bad idea though. I mean, everything you said are good methods, but I've found this one has been the most effective that I've had. I've got a client who is a fit guy, been training for years, pretty advanced, and he has trouble sleeping, and he gets up and he eats cereal and stuff like that in the night. So it might be like 2 a.m. and he'll get up and have a massive bowl of cereal because it helps him go back to sleep. And he did it a couple of times, and it wasn't so much of a thing, and it became like this cycle that he couldn't break. And it was almost like he would wake up and not even really be conscious of what he's doing, and he would eat this food, and then he would do more cardio and more steps, take the fats out of the first meals of the day. Everything else in his plan he would follow perfectly, and it was all whole foods. He was like a robot during the day. And then at night time, he would have these binge eating sessions, and it was fucking driving him crazy. Like he was in tears at times because he's like, man, I do all this work and everything's going well, and each night I keep, and I don't know I can't stop. And it's taken a couple of months to do it, but I got him journaling, and he's willing to it. He's open, right? And he's been a good client, and so he trusts me, and so he's into the whole thing. And I got him writing journals about himself as a person, the kind of emotional, because it's emotional as well. He's got a high stress job, like everything that he sort of encounters in his day, just to start writing it out and getting thoughts out of his head. And that process, just keeping the journal, gave him a level of self-awareness that he didn't realize that he was doing so much stuff that he wasn't aware of, and thinking thoughts that were irrational, thinking of having guilt. He felt guilty about me, that he wasn't following the plans that I was giving him, and he didn't need to feel that guilt. So we had to it's been a process of unpacking all this stuff, and then it was the process of actually being aware when he wakes up, and going through a couple of nights of restless sleep and not being able to get back to sleep to actually break the cycle. But he's, touch wood, he's been like a couple of months now without having a binge eating session, so it's been good, but it's very hard.
Okay, no.
Yeah.
It's definitely like when you see them, like I want it for her, if that makes sense. But I can't stop eating.
Yeah, no, that's right. You know, it's the lead a horse to water kind of thing. So I thought, any other questions or anything?
I low-key got another question, but we'll go.
Oh, no, ask it, man.
You sure?
Yeah,
My
of course.
favorite. Okay. So one of my clients, she's got vertigo.
Oh, yeah.
So I was just thinking, I've already set her like a basic plan. I've taken out like one exercise. I think I had a supine, like just a bench press on it, but she couldn't do it. So I changed
Couldn't
it
lie
to
down.
fly. Yeah, couldn't lie down.
Yeah.
So she gets the dizziness when like she stands up, closes her eyes. She feels like the room spinning. If she looks up at the ceiling, then she feels dizzy. And then lying down, she'll get dizzy as well.
Right.
And then I was just thinking if there's like any exercises I could tell her to even maybe do at home that would help with that. Or any exercise I could help her with.
Yes, there are. There are twisting head exercises, but I don't know exactly what they are, but I know there are protocols for it. So Schmitty, the manager of the gym, he had a bout of vertigo a couple of weeks ago. He's had it a couple of times. And so he has, I know he's got some exercises and stuff that he does. So I can ask him and post up like a little list of things, but off the top of my head, I don't know.
Yeah, I saw this, like I was looking into it and I saw this exercise. So like they lay on like a bench or like a bed or whatever, and then they're like sideways, and then all they're doing is just like looking up, and then looking back down, like something like that. And then also like eye tracking. So like they have like a pen and like they bring it like closer and then further away until like they see double, and then just like focusing that as like their reps, you know.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking of like something to maybe give to her to do at home that she could do that would help it.
Yeah, so I would do that. I'd do exactly what you've done, like go through that research and pick like maybe 3 little things that she can do, and write it up in a program, like you would write it. So like head tilts, 3 sets, 12 reps. You know, pen focus, however many, you know, until double vision. Repeat 3 times, whatever it is, and type it up and put it in a little plan for her.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, and then you might have to think about exercise selection for the actual program.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Is she just beginner?
Yeah, she's a beginner.
She's a beginner. Things like if she's having trouble just doing basic stuff like loaded carries, farmers carries, sled pulling and stuff like that can be good.
Yeah, I got her doing sled pushes.
Yeah, nice.
But no, I haven't done any farmer carries or anything yet.
Yeah, that's cool. Just something to think about.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
All right, nice. So I thought that I would start off with some tips on client retention. I'll see if I can share. That's not what I want to share. What can you guys see on the screen?
Tips for the week.
All right, great. Tips of the week. Okay. So give your client one piece of useful information each session. So this is something that I have done in the past. I kind of just do it naturally now, but I did focus on it. And so I would, it would quite often it would be something interesting that one of the podcast guests had said, or one of the interesting things we learn at group education or something like that, or something that I'd read that was relevant and that I was interested in. And the process of actually teaching your clients about it actually helps you learn the concept better, Because you really, when you learn, you really know you know something when you can explain it to someone who doesn't actually have much knowledge about the topic in the first place. So clients are great people to experiment on and develop your communication ability and some of the concepts that you want to actually try and get your head around and apply to your business, because they're sort of soft. They don't really know. They don't, because you'll make mistakes, right? You'll say things and it won't always be right, and you'll fluff it a little bit, and you're like, oh, I didn't really get that concept, but now I do. And the clients is an easy audience, right? It's like, you know, they're not going to judge you on it. But it's if you get some things down, so it helps you develop your education, and they start getting some knowledge out of the process as well. And so it can be the same piece of information, and you do it to multiple clients in the same day, and by the end of the day you'll have the concept down pretty well. And so explaining intensity, frequency and volume is a good example, because everyone's got a program, and everyone's program has an appropriate balance of intensity, frequency and volume. So you could explain to your client the rationale behind the phase of training that they're in, and where they could progress with their training over time, and whilst doing that, explain the concept and learn it well. So that would be a useful exercise to do, and something that's worked well for me. And then the other one is a little more out there, but this is the X Factor exercise, and this is where you make a list to yourself of all the things that make you a great coach, or why you're unique as a coach. And you identify these things, and then you focus on being that person. So training, for instance, like for myself, you know, I was never the biggest or the strongest, but I had good mobility, and my exercise technique is excellent. And so I that was one of the things that I felt a certain amount of pride about with my own training, that I felt that I could make sure all of my clients followed tempo, they all exploited full range of motion, got everyone moving well, and I sort of carried over the principles that I'm good at with my own training and applied that to clients. And so if someone might be super strong, and you understand what it's like to get strong, and you're good at teaching your clients how to get strong, you might be really good at doing volume and lots of reps, and so you know how to work hard in like a metabolic style workout, so you know how to coach a client through that kind of stuff. So you identify those sorts of things. Physical presence. So this is actually walking the talk. Like I think it's important that as coaches that we look like we train. And genetics is kind of one of the things that is a limiting factor. But I'm not like a big guy, but I could always keep myself lean, and being lean and in shape all the time, all year round, is something that I sort of is just the way that I live, and I think sets a good example for my clientele. So that would be a strength of mine. Personality strength. So you would go through all the things about yourself that people like, that make you, that make you unique, your sense of humor, all that kind of stuff, and take the time to actually indulge yourself on a piece of paper as to why you're a superhuman being. Go through some of your life experiences and things that led you to being a trainer, and why you wanted to actually join the industry in the first place. Identify the kinds of clients that you like training, the people that you've trained in the past, or the clients that you have now. What is it about certain people that you really like? And what sort of weaknesses and vulnerabilities make you authentic? So, I'm kind of prone to overthinking and anxiety, and the whole reason why I entered the fitness industry, because I was working in radio in like a corporate kind of thing. And I wouldn't say I was depressed clinically, but I just didn't know what I was doing with my life, and I didn't really want to be there. And my coping mechanism was exercise. So it was almost became a little bit of an obsession, but I would run and I would lift weights. Not that I really knew what I was doing at this point, but exercise helped me manage my mood and my anxiety and the way I felt. And I thought, well, why don't I this is working. Why don't I actually do this? And then I did my Cert 3, Cert 4 part-time, and then eventually moved into the fitness industry, and, you know, that's that story. But I'm happy to explain that to clients and sympathize with them. And I understand what it's like to procrastinate and not be good at some areas of your life. And so I understand what it's like for someone who doesn't train and how difficult it is this is one thing in their life they're trying to get their head around, and they just can't do it on their own. So they're seeking out someone's help. And so I never have any problems training. I never have any problems following my diet, because that's what I value. And so I'm good in that area of my life, but there were other areas of my life where I'm not. So I appreciate that people who come in to train, it's hard. And I think, when the appropriate time comes in a relationship with a client, like once you get to know each other well and you're sort of talking more openly about these things, it's not always a bad thing to share some of the things that you struggle with yourself. So basically what you do, the whole purpose of the exercise is for you to get clearer about what makes you an awesome coach, and identify it, and not compare yourself to other people or try and be anything that you're not. Be more you, basically. Double down on being you. And I think, I think it's valuable. Any thoughts or comments on that?
No, I like that.
Yeah.
All good? All good? All right. So the next thing, let's look at training programs. So let me stop this share. So last week we had phase 1, day 1 and day 2 of that initial training program. Hang on, I'm going to have to get some screens up here. One sec. All right, hang on. Day 1 and 2. Okay. Phase 1 and 2. Day 2, A and B. Okay, all right. One second. Right. So we had the, okay, what can you guys see?
Both.
Both? Hamstring curl,
Yeah.
A1, shoulder press, A2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So on the left-hand side is the program that we looked at last week. So I think this is maybe day 2 of phase 1. So remember, I'd done 2 different workouts. This is the one that starts with lower body pull and upper body press with unilaterals. So the kneeling hamstring curl, the unilateral hamstring curl, and the standing shoulder press. And then on the other day, it was the split squat and the dumbbell row, or the single arm cable row that I think I had. And then, so this is how and then on the right hand side is what I did for phase 2 and how I changed it. So I've gone from a unilateral A1 and A2 hamstring curl and shoulder press into the same body part and the same movement, but bilateral. So a lying hamstring curl with both feet, and then a seated shoulder press with dumbbells. So basically, I've set the stage in phase 1 with some unilateral stuff, and I like to keep the continuity with the exercises that they're learning. So then I just progress them up to the bilateral thing for the next phase. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then in the B series, where we do the compound lifts, so in phase 1, she was doing just a squat, goblet squat, holding a dumbbell in the front for 12s, and then a couple of sets at 10, or one exposure at 10 reps at the end, and a pull down, so a vertical pull, same thing for 12s. Phase 2, I've got her under the barbell for the first time. So once again, same movement pattern, same body parts, but just the next progression up in the exercise selection. And then I've gone from the pull down to an assisted pull up. So same concept, same movement pattern, just the next progression up. And then the other big difference is the rep schemes. So over here she was doing 12s and she finished with an exposure of 10, and then I'm starting her with 10s in phase 2. And in phase 1, where we increased volume of sets, in week 1 it was 3, and they went to 4, and then she did 3 weeks with 5 sets. She just keeps going with 5 sets. So she just starts straight away with 5 sets. So volume of sets stays up because I want to continue to build working capacity. So I give her 2 exposures of 5 sets of 10, and then the last 3 rotations of the phase, we go 5 sets, but 10, 10, and then 3 sets of 8. So she's starting to touch a few 8s. And remember that she is, while she is a beginner, she does have that little bit of training experience in the past. So I felt confident kind of pushing her through the reps a little quicker. If it was someone who was a legit beginner, then this would probably in the first phase would be 12s all the way through. And then depending on how they go, they might do even a couple more weeks of 12 before they hit the 10s, or it would just be all 10s. But they wouldn't necessarily be touching any 8 reps in the first 2 phases of training if they're legit beginners, or if they're just not particularly gifted or good at strength training. But this bird, yep.
Sorry, question.
Yep.
When they're doing the 2 10s and 3 8s, are you keeping it at like the same weight, or would you up the weight a little when they're doing the 8s?
Yeah, I'm increasing the weight. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So they would, you'd know roughly what you were doing for your 10s after these 2 exposures. So you would start there, maybe go up a little bit more on the second 10, and then in the 8s, yeah, you're trying to get them lifting as much as they can do for an 8.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the A series and the B series. So this is day 1 and 2, day 2, A and B. All right, I'll get up the next one, which will be the C's and D's of the same workouts. Stop share. Share screen. Day 1 and 2, C and D. Okay. All right. Okay, can you guys see Romanian deadlifts, dumbbells?
Yep.
Push-up assisted? Okay, awesome. Right, so same concept here in the C's. I've from each phase I've changed the movement patterns to a slightly more advanced exercise. So she went from Romanian deadlifts with dumbbells to a Romanian deadlift with a barbell. So I'm just getting her to get used to having a barbell. The reps have come down from 14s, 12 to 14 to 10 to 12, and similar volume of sets. The push-up, so she was doing reasonably well with her push-ups and the bar was getting lower, so I went to a push-up from her knees, but on pressing from kettlebells, so that she gets a neutral grip and can get a greater range of motion, and it's kind of like a pathway into doing dips. So it's a more challenging movement, but from her knees she could get the 12 reps, so that was the variation there. And I went from the wood chopper, the oblique twist, so abdominal rotation, to another kind of abdominal rotation, which is that plank exercise where you've got your elbows on the thing and you're rolling around like that. It's quite challenging. So that was the variations there. And yeah, just the reps, a slight change in the reps with the accessory exercises from 14s down to 12s. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Should we have a look at, we'll have a look at the other workout. Hang on. Stop share. Share. Day 1. Okay. Can we see split squats?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So, from same concept once again, I guess it's just an opportunity for you guys to see what kind of exercise selections I use. So we've gone from unilateral split squat to basically exactly the same movement, like with the way I cue walking lunges is kind of like a walking split squat. So I like them to push the knee forward over the toe, get all the way, sink all the way down into the range and step up through it. So we've gone from unilateral to bilateral, same reps. She was doing a unilateral horizontal row, so I moved her to a bilateral horizontal row. So she's doing the seated row. So on the other day, she's doing, obviously with the pull-ups is her big vertical pull. So she's got a vertical pull day And then so for the other pulling exercise here, I've given her horizontal pulling. I've stuck with the trap bar. So the trap bar she was able to do straight away from phase 1. So that's great. We just keep that going. And I think I gave her trap bar deadlifts for maybe three or four phases because she was getting quite strong in it before I actually brought in a barbell deadlift. So I was happy to keep that compound movement just the same. And the dumbbell press as well, actually. Yeah, so she was just same exercises into it and just get really good at actually doing them. That all makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this useful for you guys?
Yeah, and I like the exercise selections and like how you're going about it.
Yeah, so
And like starting off with the first week like unilateral, and then like the next phase doing bio, like it makes sense.
yeah, and it's not a hard and fast rule, and you certainly don't like. There's different ways you can do everything, and basically, look, it doesn't really matter. It wouldn't really matter what you did for a beginner if you got them in working hard enough and you got their nutrition right. Like they're going to be totally fine. But I have I need everything to make sense. I like there to be good rationale. I like the client to be able to actually see that I've put thought into it when I explain the next phase. And I said, okay, so we carried over here and we've gone to here, and we'll be talking about the pull up. So you did a pull down first. So I'll get you on the assisted machine, and then the 8s will come down, and then hopefully by the end of the phase, you might be getting close to being able to do a bodyweight pull up, and maybe I'll test them early on just to see if they can hold themselves at the top of a range on a pull up. Usually they'll just collapse straight to the bottom. I'll say, all right, let's do this phase of training, then we'll test it again in the end. And they might be able to do like a 10-second controlled eccentric. And I'll say, okay, if we can build that 10-second eccentric to a 30-second eccentric, then there's no reason you can't do at least one good bodyweight pull-up. So I'll explain, I'll start getting them thinking about where they can progress and the kind of things that they can achieve. So it's not, these are not necessarily rules and things that you have to follow by any stretch of the imagination. This is just the way that I like to have balance in movement patterns, balance in muscle groups, nice sequencing of exercises. Think about the layout of the gym, how you can set everything up, what they like doing, what movement patterns they're good at. Give them enough of stuff that they're good at so they feel good, and enough of things they need to work on so that they get better. So I guess these are like the little. It's very simple on paper if you just look at it, but if you actually, if you think about your program writing as a bit of an art form and start to get good at it, I think it's good for business. That's one of these things that makes you a good coach. It's one of the things that makes me a good coach. I think is my is the genuine effort that I put into the program design for everyone that comes in. But having said that, I've pumped out this program for heaps and heaps of people. Like a couple of little changes here and there, but like first few phases of training are just bread and butter stuff. It takes 5 minutes, open up the template, punch in the exercises, tweak it just enough so it's right for them, and then they're good to go. So it's the theory and the systems I've put thought into so that I don't have to put that much thought into everything every time I sit down and do it. And then once they get more advanced, then you have to start thinking a bit more. Right. So that's A's, B's. Let's have a look at the C's and D's. Stop share.
Sorry, Tommy. I gotta go.
Righto, man. No worries. Enjoy your work.
Yeah, try to, man. All right, see you guys.
All right, mate.
See you, Josh.
Okay. Hang on. C and D. No, we've seen that one. Okay. Can you guys see squats and face pulls?
At the moment, the screen is frozen.
Frozen, yeah.
Frozen. Okay. Let me stop that. What can you see now?
The deadly.
Romanian deadlift.
Romanian tennis. Okay. That's not what I'm after. I'll try again. C and D, share.
Same.
Okay. Squats?
No.
No.
Deadlift.
Deadlift. Okay, I'm going to close that. Hang on. Okay. Squats?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. So I went from so in the first phase of training, she had the heels elevated quad squats with a standing face pull, and then she did her ab leg raises. So I moved the squat to just a flat mid stance with a front dumbbell. So she's doing, for her compound, she's doing a barbell back squat, and she's doing that with a slight heel elevation because she doesn't quite have the mobility to do a full range squat with her feet flat, not elevated. But with the loading mechanism at the front, holding the load with like a goblet squat with her feet flat, she can get pretty close to it. So I want to expose her to the full range squat movement in a nice, easy loading pattern for her to get better at her overall barbell squat, apart from actually doing the squats and getting that work done. Bearing in mind this is paired up with the workout where she's just done the trap bar deadlifts, so it's on the other day to the main barbell squat. I've taken the face pull from a standing cable to a seated cable, so just a slight variation in the movement. I think face pulls are pretty useful for most people. I have some sort of face pull in pretty much all the programs that I write for all the guys. And then the abs have gone from a lying leg raise just on a flat bench to a hanging leg raise, so the next challenge up. Yes.
With the face pulls, getting them to sit,
Yes.
is that so that like makes them use their core more, or
They can actually use more load. So you know
Okay.
how one of the limiting factors sometimes doing a standing face pull is just your balance.
yeah,
You have the split stance and everything, but it's just like you can almost pull yourself off your feet if you drop the height of the cable so it's eye level, whatever it is, and sit down on the ground. You can plant your feet, have a stable base, and sit and pull, and you can actually use more load.
I'm gonna add that in because that's the issue that I had with that. Is you just sort of awkwardly like balancing.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
hey, Case, you know how you sometimes, when I train in the gym, have you ever seen me do it but like down on one knee?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
see you and Dana do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can pull heaps more weight when you're down on one knee as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, so try that. Like, do a few sets of it yourself, and just get your head around how it feels, and how to set it up for them. But yeah, that's a good option.
Yeah.
And as I said, she's slightly more advanced than your usual beginner, so she can do a hanging leg raise. It's probably unlikely most clients can do a good hanging leg raise in the second phase of training. They might need a couple more phases before they're able to do that. If that's another thing with pull-ups, actually, while I think of it, if they're I'll get clients just to hang at the start of a workout, just go to a bar and just hang and just see how long they can hang on a bar for, and do a few sets of that just to develop grip strength, develop a bit of stability around their scapula and underneath their traps and everything. Let the lower back all lengthen out and just it feels nice just to have a bit of a hang and stretch and open everything up. But it's good for actually developing their strength. They could then go from hanging to hanging scapular retractions and just get a bit of that action going on, build some strength underneath the around the shoulder blades so they're strong off the bottom of a pull-up. And then and then the slow eccentrics and holds and things like that are really useful as well. So that's pretty much everything I had planned for today. Are there any questions on that lot?
No,
No.
that's pretty.
Yeah.
Cool. Is this sort of format like useful? What other things are there deficits that or questions or things that would be more useful for me to go over, or is this useful?
what's one thing that came up this week? Is maybe making sure when you're training a client, you're making the most of the muscle groups. Because I've noticed with females, I've naturally just sort of geared away from doing upper back work.
Right.
So maybe going into the difference between like functional movement and then people that want that hourglass figure.
Sure. So you don't program as much of that work for the aesthetics of
Yeah,
big
like
shoulders and traps.
Yeah, like I'm noticing I'm just naturally now, like sort of once I see them functionally moving, I'll then transition to more glutes, more shoulder work. But it would be good because if I get a male,
Right.
like I don't know exactly what are the best upper back exercises for males because I've just avoided maybe go over like different programming styles
Sure.
between female and male.
Yeah. All right. That's a great idea. I'll get up. I'll do. I'll do some phases of like basic phases of training for male and female, and the differences
That
between
will
the two.
That'll be good for Dana because I've just given her male clients, and then also Bailey and Josh will be getting a lot of females, so it'll be good to know the difference.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. No worries. That's a good idea. Excellent. All right. Well, that's awesome. Thanks, guys. You're the best. Have a Is anyone doing anything cool on the weekend?
Not really.
Nah.
No.
It's a bit like that, isn't it? You get to the end of the week and you just need to rest.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, eat well and have a nice weekend. And
You too.
I'll see you guys next week.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.